With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
It's the first of 5 championship nights here in the PRL on RaceSpotTV, starting with the Production Car Challenge here at Mount Panorama and GT4 series from Laguna Seca. Bathurst, though, is a wonderful venue to race at any time in the season, but today it's the last dance for the GR86s and the MX5s. With both titles already settled, though, there's nothing but pride and bragging rights on the line, so with the pressure off, it should be more relaxed for the drivers taking part today. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Ewan O'Leary alongside Justin Prince here for the finale at Mount Panorama. Justin, there is no pressure on for anybody here, so it should be a lot of fun to watch. It should be fun to participate in as well.
Yes, indeed. It should be an intriguing night to close out the campaign for some. For others, just looking to try and finish off this season on a strong note. Because when it comes to the Mount Panorama circuit, such a difficult track to close out a season, especially when it comes to car classes in regards to this side of the card that have had troubles keeping it clean parts of the season.
2.5 minutes around here, by the way, at Mount Panorama in these cars. It's going to be a bit of a mammoth test over the course of the race. Let's have a look at how the championship standings do go as we're on the way in to the final race here. 69 points was enough for Marlon McMullen to secure the title last time around, with Eric Harmon, Jeff Evans and Andrew Sharp fighting over second place here today. That should be quite close. Kevin Bergquist and Jimmy Richards are quite close for 5th, with Jared Farrowell down in 7th after not starting the last couple of rounds. Richard Mudrick is 8th ahead of Mark Kalin and Nicholas Schwartz. All of those drivers pretty close in and around the 7th position. See if those guys are going to fight over those places over the course of the day as well. In the MX5s, we will see Kevin Sandiego crowned officially champion here after putting it into mathematical impossibility last time around. Michael Chase is not that far in front of Sean Bancroft, with Roman Bykov, Andrew Venaro and Kelly Greenhill all not far behind. Then we've got Austin Bartlett Chase, Zach Fuller, Edward Peltz and Derek Putnam to round out the top 10 in MX5. We do have a teams championship as well, of course, but these also have pretty big margins at the front. Danger Kitty with the slightly smaller of the two, with 83 points over Alibi Racing and Unlimited Slip. With Roberts Motorsport and Spratty Motorsport, in the top 5 as well. Then we've got the GR86s, where it's Waterback Racing who will be crowned champions, 151 points over Aerial Auto Art. Then it's Iceberg Racing, the other Waterback Racing squad, and Precision Racing Esports to round out the 5 there. Not too much to say there, Justin, really. The titles are settled. The teams championships are quite distant from one another as well.
Yeah, so dominant runs throughout the campaign for the MX5 side for Danger Kitty with the speed they've had, especially with San Diego being quicker than some of the GR86s. But when it comes to Waterback, it's been incredible seeing some of their performances as a unit throughout this season. A lot of ups and downs as a team, but the most consistent out of those with the team numbers.
Let's take a little look before we get into anything else at the sponsors who make these broadcasts possible here on RaceSpotTV, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Tonight's broadcast also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Use raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. This broadcast also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake or sequential shifter, use Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. A big thanks to all of those guys who make this broadcast possible here on RaceSpotTV, as we will have every night for one more week here on this YouTube channel from Monday through Thursday, and then on the Sunday for the Cup Series finale as well, here for Season 2 of the Precision Racing League of 2023. The drivers just in qualifying right now, not deep within it. We're just on the outlaps right now over the top of the mountain for most of them. It's going to be a relatively important session, you would say, but not a session where they're going to get loads of chances here, Justin. Only 10 minutes. 4 laps is the limit, but they're not going to reach that by any means. I think 2 laps is going to be the limit for everybody here in terms of what they're actually going to manage to get out of this session. And that's really not very many chances around a circuit as difficult as Bathurst.
Especially since the starting box when it comes to qualifying is that pit exit, so you have to go that full distance around. But the tough part is you end up having any slip-ups of any point, you lose potentially all your track position. So it's so difficult to be able to make your way through this racetrack, especially up on the mountain sections. When it comes to that run through Skyline, the Dipper, Forest Elbow, several drivers in practice spinning out in that section as to be expected here. But it's also a very difficult track in that with the run through the chase even, it's so easy just to end up carrying too much speed or missing your braking point and ending up going in the grass. That's going to be something to think about with the race pace in itself. Keep in mind, in these MX-5s you're looking at, such as Michael Chase, they're already on the chip by the time we reach turn 20 to start the chase.
We'll stay on board for a little bit of time here with Michael Chase to have a little look about what Mount Panorama Bathurst is like. And I do wonder what it is like in this car in particular. We see obviously a lot of faster cars racing around here. We've got the Bathurst 12-hour specimen, the Bathurst 1000. Both of those run in cars that are about half a minute a lap quicker than the MX-5 will be around here. But you can imagine while it will be a long time waiting around on Mountain Straight and Comrade Straight, Mountain Straight we're on right now, over the mountain, I'd imagine this car is a dream to drive.
Someone who's caught plenty of races with the MX-5s here at this racetrack can tell you it's a drafting circuit in that regard, but also a very difficult one with that because the wall distances. The run up through Hill Corner up to Griffin's Bend, one of your first opportunities to try and slingshot. If you can get the pass done by Griffin's Bend, we've seen several times if you even go side by side there, it's difficult to even complete the pass before the cutting. Then you have to ride essentially in a train and be patient while keeping yourself lockstep all the way by the time you reach the run out of Forest Elbow in turn 19. That's where it opens up another chance to try and get a long draft, if not 3 wide down some of the straightaways before you hit 21 and 22. The problem is, if you make a too deep of a move through the chase, you likely take your competitors with you. That happens a lot here when it comes to the MX-5 class. And don't forget, Murray's Corner, the final corner. Some drivers get really brave there, trying to go deep on the brakes before they start the next lap or take the checker flag here at this racetrack. Can tell you though, with how difficult the elevation changes are, you better have in the preparation here to make sure you don't hit one of those walls.
That's going to be the real story in terms of staying out the wall, but also getting as close to them as possible, because that's where the time is. That's where you've got to really maximise the top of the mountain. Michael Chase makes his way back down from it though, and towards the chase. Some of the most famous corners in motorsport, and originally when Bathurst was drawn up for the very first time many moons ago, this wasn't included. It was a straight right the way down to Murray's Corner. Eventually that did get a bit unsafe, as you can probably imagine. So we've added one of the, arguably, the best chicane in motorsport. You can argue amongst yourselves about whether it is or not. Michael Chase will make his way down towards Murray's Corner eventually though, and he may well set the benchmark here in the MX-5 category. Don't think this is quite up to pace compared to where he was during practice, but nobody was as quick as Kevin San Diego during practice. He topped the times overall, not just in the MX-5 category. He was faster than all the GR86s as well. Michael Chase sets the benchmark with a 2-minute 32.7. Immediately, Kevin Sandiego goes that little bit quicker with a 31.6. He's fastest of anybody, including faster than Marlon McMullen, which shows just how well this car is handling the MX-5. We hear often about the GR86s actually gaining time on the MX-5s down the straights, actually, but it seems that they're able to make up so much time over the top of the mountain that it doesn't actually matter, and we're going to have quite a close race between the two categories today.
I think it more so says a lot about the pace of Kevin Sandiego, because the nearest car to him in the class already is a good 7 tenths, if not more already, 1.1 seconds, I should say, behind. And he's done this on any track that requires a lot of technical corners. He's been very competitive in the past. Yes, we've seen him in the open wheel competitions, Ewan, but when it comes to the MX-5, it's like he's proven he's one of the best drivers in this car, because it's excessively difficult to try and outrace the GR86 even with the similarities, because of how quicker it can be in some of these sections in the corners. And the GR86, Sandiego is just that quick as a driver.
Certainly is. And Michael Chase is not slow either. He's up there in 3rd overall right now, and has quite a few cars between himself and the next MX-5 of Brian Kings, who is 3rd at the moment. I think it's worth... Oh, just got into 3rd. I think it's worth, though, Justin, just giving these MX-5s a bit of a send-off here tonight, because I know that we are having the season, the sign-ups open for Season 3 of the Precision Racing League in 2023, and it's and that's all fantastic. But unfortunately, this will not be the Production Car Challenge returning on a Monday night. It will be the GR86 series as a standalone series. And a word on the MX-5s, because they've been a great servant of this championship, great servant of the Precision Racing League, and it will be sad to have them not racing on a Monday night any longer after this race tonight.
Especially just the popularity of this car, because remember, many of the first-time iRacers up until the past year with the GR86 introduction raced this car and had to learn the rookie version of this race car. So that, I think, just plays more into the trends of what the iRacing circuit's going towards, with the GR86 becoming a free car for drivers to be able to utilize in the rookie series, to be able to learn the race car around the racetracks. It kind of going towards that side, as well as towards where the car counts have been throughout the season.
It will be sad to see them go at the end of the race today. Soren Bancroft moves up to 2nd in that class, incidentally, as Eric Harman, 2nd in the GR86 Championship, does move up as well, but does seem to be struggling around Bathurst at the moment. He wants to protect that 2nd place in the championship from Jeff Evans, who's down in 5th place in class. In the GR86s. There's Mark Kalin making his way over the mountain. Andrew Sharp is the other driver who will be hounding Harman today. They're only separated by 15 thousandths of a second as things stand. Just over a minute remaining. Mark Kalin is going to get this lap time in, but it's only going to be his 2nd lap, and he's going to need to improve from here, because his 1st lap time is only good enough for 8th in class, and it's a good 4 seconds away from Marlon McMullen at the moment, 3.5 seconds away from McMullen in the 2:31s. So Kalin will want to improve here and just get himself closer towards the front with this final lap.
Yeah, Kalin, more so an oval driver throughout his entire career at PRL, but this season been fairly competitive. He's battled a lot, though, I've noticed, with his teammates, especially Jeff Evans, with how they've been close to each other, as well as Doug Gibbons on race pace. It's been fairly impressive for someone who has struggled with loose cars on the oval side at times, yes, but this type of car seems to be coming to him to where he's a potential top 5 threat most of the weeks because of his ability to keep the car clean in the GR86s. Speaking of loose...
Yeah, it nearly fell apart immediately there into the final corner. He doesn't go quicker, almost certainly as a result of that slide, actually, over the top of the mountain for a number of others. This is not going to be getting to the line in time, I wouldn't think, for Jimmy Richards, who's making his way down the dipper at the moment through the S's. And we get aerial shots now. The wonderful Mount Panorama Bathurst, a great location and a fantastic circuit it is as well. Synonymous with Australian motorsport, providing our finale for the Production Car Challenge here today. Let's have a look at your starting grid for the final time this season. Marlon McMullen again on the pole position. 6th pole of the season in 10 rounds. Nicholas Schwartz alongside with Eric Harman in 3rd and Andrew Sharp 4th. Jeff Evans and Kevin Berkvist will line up on row 3 with Doug Evans and Mark Kalin on row 4. Nathan Miller and Josh Bear will, Joseph Bear even will round out the top 10. Then it's Richard Modric and Jimmy Richards on row 6. And then that's it for the GR86s. We've got 12 in MX5 as well, starting with Kevin San Diego, who set the best lap time overall in that session. Sean Bancroft alongside with Michael Chase. Then it was Ryan Kings in 4th, out of Austin Bartlett Chase, and Andrew Venero in 6th place. 7th will be Ian Cabana, ahead of Edward Peltz in 8th position. Kelly Greeno and Roman Bykov make it just inside the top 10, although didn't set times. Neither did Alex Tita or Chance Chet in that session for whatever reason it may be. So 12 cars in each field, 24 overall to send off the MX-5s and send off the Production Car Challenge as well, as we replace this series with the GR86 series on Monday nights on RaceSpotTV moving forward. GT4 series will be the later race as well, by the way. Once again, that series proving to be popular and will be remaining on the schedule on a Monday night. Just one race to go though, just in here, round 10 of the season, and it is Bathurst. Interesting to note that the MX-5s were so quick in that session there. Kevin San Diego is going to be having to overtake quite a few of these GR86s, trying to not unlap himself, but to overtake them for overall positions. It can get awkward, but we see it very regularly. He'll be quite used to it by now.
Just on the raw pace of San Diego, he's been quicker than some of those indeed in the GR86s because of just how consistent he's been on his marks all season. I will say this though, when it comes to this race in itself tonight, not going to be a cakewalk for anybody because of just how tricky the section of the racetrack from section 2 all the way down to towards that final drafting spot towards the chase can be today. So you can't just simply say, let's just drive for 35 minutes. No, you're going to have to be up on the wheel, making sure you're alert with where so many incidents have happened here in the past and so many different types of cars. It's not a given you'll survive.
And as has happened so many times this season, Marlon McMullen will lead them to the green flag for the 6th time this season, looking for his 9th win. One of the biggest we've ever had in a single season. Not the biggest, but one of certainly. And he'll be looking to round off his season in style. The green flag waves one last time in the Production Car Challenge. We're underway at Mount Panorama, and it was Marlon McMullen who went as early as possible there to get the jump on the likes of Nicholas Schwartz, who will get 2nd place. It's side by side between Andrew Sharp and Eric Harman into Hell Corner for 3rd, and they'll remain side by side with Jeff Evans looking to take advantage. Into the final corner comes the MX-5s. They'll have quite a disadvantage going forward, and maybe that's intentional by Kevin San Diego, who wants to give these guys that little bit of space that they need to get up to speed. Chance Chet and Kelly Greeno are both back to pit lane here, so only 10 of the MX-5s get going, quite when they should have done. Not sure what's gone on there. However, San Diego will take the green flag. He will lead them through Hell Corner as well, and he'll take an early lead with Sean Bancroft behind. Then it's Michael Chase, Ryan Kings, Austin Bartlett Chase and Andrew Venero all there. The two who've made a pit stop emerge as well in the background. Here comes Sean Bancroft, possibly on the leader for a go in towards turn 2. They'll go down towards the hill and through that right-hander, and it looks like he's going to back off and stay behind for now. The two pole sitters retain their early lead through the opening moments.
I think we've already had contact though amongst those coming out of the pit lane because Kenny Greenhoven at checkup ran over that 4 car and picked up some damage on the headlight. Everybody else has kept it clean for the most part so far. It's not going to be easy to keep it close though, based on what we're seeing already. Bancroft to the point though, with the result of some of the bravery. Now it's going to be the waiting game, waiting to see if they can get the draft back to be able to get the slingshot next time around, or if they elect to save. Already getting tight though, with San Diego feeling he's quicker. You can see just how much he's trying to check up to avoid the contact.
This is so close between them over the top of the mountain. fantastic racing between the two, but it's Sean Bancroft who's taken the lead. It was down at the cutting where you do sometimes see moves, but often you're a little bit scared to do so because it is so tricky through there, at least on your own, and also going with others. It's very tricky on the opening lap as well, but they've negotiated it very well, and it's been a good start for the MX-5s. The top 6, 7 or so getting away from the rest, it seems. Some of the others having a few problems on this opening lap. Down Conrod Straight they'll go. They'll plunge downhill towards this little bowl, I guess you could say, on the straight, and then back uphill, as there's been all kinds of things going off in the GR86s. Joseph Bear has been off the road. I think Doug Evans has as well. There's been quite a lot of action on this opening lap up in that top class.
We've got an air spin right in that section. Joseph Bear just towed right before this opportunity. It looks like Kevin Sandiego thinking fuel mileage, though. Not electing to take the trap back yet to get back around Bancroft. And not a surprise, this is a chance where you can draft, or you can try and send up the final corner instead.
Well, we said there's nothing but pride and bragging rights on the line. I think we're seeing a product of that because San Diego not willing to wait and save fuel. These guys just want to have fun and they want to go side by side towards turn 1 because it's the final race. Here goes San Diego. He'll get back through to the lead for now.
Big chance to jump up, though, for Chase. The problem is just no tow, no assistance to be able to pull him there with the pull for Bancroft now at the back of the leader. This is now going to be where you have to choose where your players are. Ryan King's a big part of this battling now. Might have a chance if he plays it right to make it a team 1-2. Hence why San Diego's playing so much defense here.
It's Michael Chase on the outside, but the camber of the turn there really doesn't help you. And Ryan Kings will get at least a double podium right now for them, moving through up into third place. I think this is the key now for Sean Bancroft, though. He's got to make sure that now that San Diego's in the lead, he can't let him get away here. Bancroft has to stay in the draft and stay close to that race leader.
Exactly. San Diego right now just controlling that tempo, exactly what we're expecting him to do in the early going here. Not going to be easy much of the way. The one thing I will say, Ryan Keynes is hoping for a clean finish. We were talking about this before today's race because he has DNF'd in 5 of the 9 races this season. That is crazy. It's something we've seen in a couple series, but that's a surprise from your team championship leading group to have one driver being the point leader and another not finish half the races.
It is somewhat bizarre, but it is worth noting, by the way, he did win the race at Daytona back at round 2 by quite some distance. So he's clearly got the speed, but hasn't quite been getting to the end of these races. Field now really stretched out as a result of Kevin San Diego getting back to the front. Sean Bancroft has done a good job in terms of staying in the slipstream here. He's just over half a second away. He'll start to close back in towards the chase. He'll maybe make a move because I think he's got to battle San Diego quite hard here to stay in touch, as we've got Kelly Greeno with a bit of damage here on Roman Bykov. They'll go down straight in towards the chase, but not sure where that obvious bit of damage has been picked up. Maybe off of the formation lap, if that's what you meant by talking about earlier on.
Coming off the pit lane. Remember, he started from the pit lane as again. Chance Jed had stopped at the cone, and it caused the contact between him and Greenho. That's where the damage was picked up by Greenho. The 4-car Chance Jed did not pick up damage from it. That in turn puts Greenho in the back foot because that damage can slow you down, especially when it comes to that draft effect. Already no one to catch up to yet outside of Cabana.
That's okay. That's an interesting one. I thought they had started the little formation lap, but then came back to pit lane afterwards. But maybe they did start from pit lane, so not ideal for Kelly Greeno. Let's have a little look at a replay of exactly what you're talking about here. You are indeed correct. Chet will stop at the end of pit lane, and well, that was bizarre. Greeno had a long time to respond and react there, but just didn't.
You're also not expecting someone to stop right at the commitment cone, because here's the thing. The only time you would have to normally stop is if there is a caution and the pit exit is closed. I'm almost wondering if he thought about that and was afraid of joining in the midst of the traffic. Even then, just about everybody had passed by that point. Just a tough spot for all that sequencing to happen. Keep in mind, it's top 2 is San Diego and Bancroft just being able to pull away now by 2 seconds, and this is where the cream rises to the top, so to speak. Because when you know how to hit your marks on the track like this, you can break the draft, because that mountain is so much more critical than just a straight line.
This could be very important for Bancroft here. Well, it is very important, but it's high pressure stuff actually at the moment. Just over half a second. It seems to be that on the downhill there, they kind of reached the high point at McPhillamy Park and Skyline, as the name would suggest, and down the hill through the Dipper and into the S's, it does seem that he can extend that margin just a little bit. This is a replay back in the GR86s. That transition towards... Oh, that's an awkward tyre wall to grab as well there, I'm afraid, for Richard Modric, who's down to 11th place right now. That's another one of the challenges at Bathurst, the sort of change of weight distribution as you go over the crest of the hill there, down towards Forest Elbow. It's not ideal. It can catch you out very easily.
And that's why I said get up on the wheel, because you think, okay, I've hit these marks so many times, you start to zone out, you lose that intensity, you end up forgetting or rather just missing that little bit of a mark that you have to hit on this racetrack. That is mandatory damage repair, by the way, for Modric. By the way, second amongst the leaders, Schwartz and Harmon, all of a sudden swapping spots there.
And it was an alright qualifying for Eric Harmon, but it's a much better race for him so far. Up to second place he goes now. He'll do well to catch up to Marlon McMullen from this point, especially being from that side of the world in Australia. Marlon McMullen will be very familiar with this racetrack, you'd imagine, but it's a long chase for Eric Harmon. Side by side for Michael Chase and Ryan Kings. Chase lost out to Kings last time he tried to go around the outside at turn 2. Has he not learnt his mistake or got better at it? Well, he's certainly got better at going around the outside of turn 2, because the camber is not working with you there at all, but it does give you the inside for the cutting, and so he will get through up into third place, with Austin Bartlett Chase catching them as well, just denying Danger Kitty a double podium for now.
I think there's a small difference when it comes to what happened the last time Chase was out there and this time. Chase was more defensive. Chase on the previous attempt was more on the offense, and that's where it's so difficult to stick to the outside of the chase if you don't clear by the apex. And because of that, Kings just couldn't get that corner exit once again to make that pounce. The thing is, they're battling so hard. Austin Bartlett Chase is in a great spot here to try and work with Michael now. If he can just wait for the right moments here and see what slips up the downside. I think Bartlett Chase just threw that chance away because he just nearly hit the wall twice in the cutting.
Well, it's kind of what you have to do, isn't it, around here. Get as close to the wall as possible, and Kings will certainly do that to try and get the best exit off of Forest Elbow he possibly can. Michael Chase won't be able to do a lot, I don't think, in terms of holding him back here for third place in the Mazda MX-5 Cup category. The final race of this car in the Precision Racing League. Ryan Kings will go to the outside, well, the inside, I suppose, for the first part, be the outside for turn 21, which is the left-hander that you're in the braking zone for. Kings, though, will get through and cut to the inside. He'll even defend from Chase in towards that corner. He'll go a bit deep, though. He'll get into the grass. He will hold on for now, and I wondered if we're going to see almost a repeat of the previous lap, with Chase going for it in towards turn 2, because he won't try it at the final corner.
It just noticed Michael Chase with a major lift there, electing to give him a break before the final corner. Don't know how long the brakes are going to last, though, if he keeps having those slip-ups like that. Just could see it with just how much momentum he's having with the compromised line originally.
He got a good enough exit off of Hell Corner here for a move. Has Bancroft got one as well, quite possibly for the lead right now? I think they're side by side going down the dip there, but all of a sudden he's lost a lot of speed on the straight, and I don't know what that was all about, but he might have just backed out. Either way, here comes Chase, and now he's going to start to get to the back, so I wonder whether this is the strategy starting to come into effect. Is he lifting off to save fuel and maybe jump Ryan Kings in the pit stops instead?
I think that'd be the very smart call here. There's not a lot of fuel you have to put in with this car in this series, only 30% the fuel limit, yes, but it still matters significantly. If you can save 2-3 seconds in the box, you pick up 2-3 seconds potentially on the racetrack. So that, I think, is part of that play. Or he's just going to force it in a non-passing section, I guess.
Very nearly did. But decides to stay behind at Reed Park there, and you can't exactly blame him, as Austin Bartlett Chase just closes in and makes this a 3-car battle for third place over the top of the hill at McPhillamy and down the hill. We'll have a little look now as to what happened exactly between the MX5 leaders on that last little moment. Oh dear, that's a big hit into the wall.
That's Kalen right in front of the leaders.
Okay.
And Kalen, keep in mind, just let by the leaders now that a hard hit. This checked up a lot of the drivers. You'll keep an eye on that. They ended up just losing a lot of their time buffer because of that. Still a 6-second buffer. Just look how difficult it was. Just having to make sure they get it. And then you have a GR86 trying to make a pass that gets boxed in by the slower class there.
Yeah, I think that was Jimmy Richards who had to try and get through all at the same time. Apologies. Yeah, that was down at the second half of the lap, really, not up towards turn 2 like I thought. But there we are. It was San Diego and Bancroft getting through, and on this occasion Bancroft was a lot closer and could have maybe gone for a move, but didn't go for it. That's Mark Kalin again, I think, off at the chase.
Yeah, that's a broken race car, keep in mind, but that's allowed Michael Chase to think about at least the send. And remember, Austin Bartlett Chase, a lot of potential to work together here. We've seen that happen a lot. The last name Chase really is helpful in thinking about why. But again, if I'm Michael Chase, I'm thinking about that too. How Austin Bartlett Chase, and that's kind of worked a little bit to be able to keep him in the draft and be able to make this a 3-car train instead of Austin Bartlett Chase being up for grabs by Greenhole and Bykoff, who are working together in the next pack.
We'll see if he can go from Michael Chase to Michael Pass here in a moment. Up towards turn 2. I apologise for that, by the way. But I don't think he is going to in towards turn 2. I wonder if he and I wouldn't imagine him and Bartlett Chase are related, are they? They've just got very similar names, which makes things awkward for us. There's also a pairing who find each other quite often in the GT4 series we'll see later on, who do exactly the same thing. Michael Chase to the outside, though, at the cutting. It's a long way around there, and he won't manage it. Ryan Kings will hold him off, but now they've got the awkwardness of traffic. I think this is Jimmy Richards just up in front of them for 11th place overall. But these guys don't care about overall positions. They just want to get through on this GR86, which is going to be tricky to do over the mountain.
Yeah, Richards not having the greatest of days. Samunchel's checked up and is now dooring Ryan Keynes on the slide up. That iceberg almost becoming a glacier when it comes to holding these cars up here.
That was close. That had disaster written all over it, that did. But they've sorted it out, and thankfully they're all still going here. Ryan King's hounding Jimmy Richards down the hill, though. And here comes Michael Chase towards Forest Elbow. You wouldn't imagine there's going to be a move between MX5s here, but there might be on Richards. Not quite. Oh, King goes very wide of the fence. Oh, and Bartlett Chase gets involved. Bartlett Chase goes around. Roman Bykov and Kelly Greeno both go through. Ryan Kings will lose a lot of speed onto Conrad Straight, and Michael Chase is up to 3rd.
Just could see it happening with all the checkups there. It looked like Ryan Keynes just missed the corner with the speed on the apex, though, at that same spot, bounced off the wall, and that gonna change the complexion of how the top 3 finishes out here. Chase now with that buffer. Pit window is open, by the way, when it comes to GR86s, so things have taken a turn here.
Andrew Sharp, the first pit caller. Here's the moment. I'm not really sure that Jimmy Richards did anything wrong. I'm not sure Ryan Kings did either. Just made a mistake, and Bartlett Chase wasn't quite expecting the slow up in front of him and went around as a result.
Oh, this is interesting, though. Kevin San Diego coming in. Of note, Kenny Greenhope following the same strategy for the time being. So this might be a planned call, at least 2 of them. Thinking about the big picture, San Diego maybe wanting to see if he can find some raw pace on his own. Oh!
Who's that? It's who is
Kings.
That? Ryan Kings again. It's Kings. Oh dear, it was one of the changing kitty cars. We could figure that out, but unfortunately, it was Ryan Kings into hell corner. Unfortunately, he's had a pretty hellish season. That, I think, based on what you said earlier, Justin, that could be his 6th DNF of the year.
Yeah, just missed the corner, slammed hard into the wall, and realized, okay, this car's not going to function anymore after the hit, and said, I'm done. I'm done. Decides I'm going back to the trailer.
That's a big shame for Ryan Kings through turn 1. So, Kenny Greenhill once again into the pit lane early. We know that that is a purposeful strategy ploy that is often employed by him. Kevin Sandiego has also pitted from the lead, by the way. Not sure we mentioned it at the time, but he has done. He's down in 6th place now with Sean Bancroft out there. These are important laps now for Bancroft and Sandiego because for the first time they're without one another. They're without the slipstream of one another, and there's important out-laps and in-laps going on for the two of them at the moment.
That's my major concern right now when it comes to their distance. You see right now Kevin Sandiego 15th when it comes to the respective grouping on the racetrack. Yeah, Bancroft brothers should say, for reference, still all the way heading up to the chase. And with the speed we've seen from Sandiego, it's the question, how does this play out in terms of the big picture? Bancroft, I almost want to say come in this time because of how critical the draft has been to keep up with Sandiego this race so far.
Absolutely, I agree. Just get into the pit lane. Hope that your pit stop is shorter, having drafted the whole time, and then think about the battle. Here he comes then. It will be into the pit lane. Sean Bancroft from the lead. Make sure you get down onto pit lane speed quite well because it is one of the trickiest and weirdest, I think it's not unfair to say, just in pit entries that we have on the schedule. It's got, you know, about 2 chicanes within it.
Seen several crash before when it comes to that part of the track. Speaking of crash, I think Bartlett Chase is right now cutting through the chase. That's where all the grass marks are coming through. Sandiego now going to have to deal with Bartlett Chase as he makes his way to his final corner. That might cost him a little bit of time here while Bancroft finishes up in the box.
I think here goes Sandiego. So that's through on Bartlett Chase, who hasn't stopped, by the way, so wouldn't worry about him too much. Bancroft, though, this is a long stop, 20 seconds. That's a much longer stop, and it doesn't matter what the in-laps or out-laps were for either of them. With 3 seconds longer in the box, Sandiego is always going to win that race.
Raw pace, but also the 4-second difference. That is a lot of confidence in terms of yourself, but also your fuel-saving ability. If you're Sandiego, we've seen him save a couple laps or be in the midst of the draft a couple laps. Might have been part of the difference, but it's also about that experience, knowing the exact math. By the way, that's Bartlett Chase becoming one with the sand.
Bartlett Chase off at the chase there. He's back on the road again. Did see Roman Bykov, by the way, off the road last lap, and he's so when Sean Bancroft came in, I'm pretty sure I saw him with some quite significant damage, and I believe that is the end of his race and the end of his season as well for one of the drivers up there in the championship, battling for second here today, who was going to try and overtake Michael Chase, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen now. This is the moment, a pretty huge one, and eventually he will find the wall quite hard. That has done significant damage to put him out for the day.
He did not become one with the sand there. He became one with the wall instead, just with the angle.
Yeah, real shame. And a lot of damage dealt as well for his last hurrah in the MX-5s. Quite tight on fuel, I've got to say, these MX-5s this time around, it does seem. In terms of when they pitted there, it was not that far until halfway for Sandiego. And everybody couldn't go that much further. However, the likes of Venero and Bartlett Chase are still going on, and that suggests
someone's run out of gas.
They can carry on. We think so anyway, but yeah, that does look like someone out of fuel, doesn't it? Although it looks like they're braking as well, which you surely wouldn't do if you'd run out of fuel.
That's Edward Peltz. I am not sure what the bit of the coast. I think it was just trying to make it down the hillside on fumes here. The thing is, that's making me confused on what's going on with Peltz is he's running the same pace despite just coming out of the pits. So I'm not sure what's going on with the 57.
I'm not either. That was a bizarre one for him, but anyway, he's back on his way again, as far as I can tell, albeit a lap down. The GR86 is still out there, by the way. Marlon McMullen with a 12-second lead now over Eric Carmen. Nicholas Schwartz and Jeff Evans even are fighting for third place. There's Marlon McMullen out in the lead, all on his own, and this has been a very familiar sight so far this season. The maximum points you can pick up for one race is 57 points, and so far this season he's been able to do that on 4 occasions with the pole position here, and possibly the fastest lap as well. He might be able to do it at half the races during a single season and reach the coveted 500 points mark as well, which is not going to be achieved by very many drivers at all. It's been an undoubtedly impressive season from Marlon McMullen here.
Classic Marlon McMullen is the best way you can put it. 9 of the 10 race victories if things hold on the way they are so far. The only race he hasn't won so far coming into tonight, mind you, Owen, he didn't start in the season opener. You basically have a driver that can just jump into the cockpit, turn laps, and say, okay, I feel comfortable, and then pull away from the rest of the pack. There have been a couple touch-and-go races, keep in mind, but it's been, for the most part, a McMullen-led season.
It really has. And speaking of close-run races, the Monza race, where we had the combined layout without the chicanes, was less than a second between 1 and 2. And I guess that's not too much of a surprise. It was only just over a second at Lime Rock as well, back at Lime 3. But as the season's gone on, he's begun to extend that margin over the rest of the field. And Michael Lang especially, who was there at the start of the season, really hounding him for those positions. After that race at Lime Rock, the gap was very rarely below 15 seconds between 1 and 2. This is a look at another pit caller for the MX-5s. Still waiting for a few of them, of course. Jeff Evans and Michael Chase both in the pit lane here. This is Michael Chase you're seeing from the lead in MX-5. Jeff Evans is in from the GR86s. But there's San Diego. I don't think there's going to be any risk here about him not coming out in the lead. There, the positions change, and he's now got 5 seconds to manage over Sean Bancroft to take a win that would cap off his championship winning season.
Yeah, only a 17-second stop, but still not enough to be able to jump, not even close to San Diego. So, pit cycle just about complete now for the MX-5s as a result of that situation. For the most part, though, San Diego pulling off and away from Bancroft by a sizable margin. One thing I've noticed, you were talking a little bit about one of the drivers with issues, Andrew Sharp. Iceberg Racing is in a spot to potentially move to second now in the team battle for the title because Ariel Auto Art only scored half the points Iceberg did last round. Iceberg Racing does not have a top 5 to their name entering the night in the GR86 Team Championship and might be able to leapfrog them now, potentially, if Sharp doesn't get back on that racetrack.
23 points between them at the moment. That's the thing to watch there. As we've got Mark Kalin off the road somewhere around. We're going to have a quick look at what's happened here. It's on the downhill where things get very difficult. Oh, that's a heavy hit into the wall. A very sharp angle as well. And no surprise to see that will be a long repair for Mark Kalin, maybe the end of his day.
Yeah, very likely that broke the wheel run, I believe there. Harmon amongst those coming in along with McMullen this lap. But things starting to just reach their calm conclusion here. I say that and usually ends up seeing a lot of attrition pop up here. The thing is, the strategy been so critical, the raw pace been so critical. Since San Diego decided that 1 lap difference was the green light for him to come in, he's just been untouchable. 1 second nearly quicker last time by, for reference. A 2:31.8 to the 2:32.5 for Bancroft.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. Both championship winners in both championships this season in the Production Car Challenge have been quite remarkable so far in terms of their pace and their dominance so far this season in sweeping up most of the points that are available on any given round. Got a battle for second place out the pit lane here between Nicholas Schwartz and Eric Harmon, and Jeff Evans here is already having made his stop, steaming down Mountain Straight. He's come out of Hell Corner the right way, and he's going to get himself into third place, so we are going to get a good fight here for second for whatever reason, Marlon McMullen has gained even more time throughout the pit stop phase. And it's now up to these guys to fight for second, with Schwartz just ahead of Evans, and then Eric Harman in fourth.
Yeah, and they were massively separated before the pit stop calls here, which is the interesting thing. I think part of that might be the entry. I did notice Schwartz nearly squeezed off Harman by accident for the most part now. You have what Winnebago Racing, I think, might want to have to close out their season. Fight it out amongst teammates, see which of you is the best on the racetrack to close out the campaign to see if he can get second.
Looks like Schwartz might have enough actually here over the top of the mountain, if he can just do enough here to get away and make sure that he won't be drafted down Conrad Straight. He might be secure in this second position, but Jeff Evans is being hounded by Eric Harman here. The two of them so close in the championship, of course, separated by only 9 points coming into today. Evans needs to beat Harman quite considerably, though, to overtake him, and even a second place with Harman fourth wouldn't be enough at the moment because of the point system. So he's got a lot of work to do here, I'm afraid, to manage that. But either way, he is going to give it a go. Out of Forest Elbow, it looks like Harman's going to have a chance here into the chase, given how close he is.
Yeah, Harman's been running in the top 3 all day today. I think we might see the move. How about some teammate blockery a little bit to try and move to the racing line, settle things out towards the chase?
Well, here comes Eric Harman. In towards the chase they'll go, and Jeff Evans is not going to fight too hard for it in the end, because he knows just what a detrimental effect on everyone that can have. So he backs off, and Eric Harman will go through. Now we'll see whether Eric Harman can catch Schwartz, because it was those two, of course, who had that battle out of the pit lane, and they came out of the pit exit road absolutely nose to tail. They might well be once again in the final 3 laps of this race.
And already a blinky coming up from Schwartz. He's already thinking about the lap traffic and Edward Peltz. So now it could get interesting in terms of how they play out if they catch up to Peltz. Keep in mind, we talked about Peltz a little bit. Seemed to be struggling earlier on after that pit stop. I mentioned he was slow out through the pit lane. I think Peltz was in a fuel scenario where he was scared of making it on gas. Now he's picked up the tempo by 10 miles an hour compared to what happened earlier.
Oh, just over 5 minutes remaining in the season. It doesn't look like it's over in this fight for second place. Schwartz versus Harman. Haven't seen so much of Schwartz so far this season, although he has been at every round so far. He's only been in the top 5 3 times. And I'm not convinced he's been on the podium, although he may have been actually at the opening round of the season, all the way back at Daytona. He was indeed on the podium. It was a battle with Eric Harman, incidentally, as well. They were second and third that day. Looks like they're going to bookend the season with a double podium between themselves. It's quite some irony and a bizarre coincidence in that.
I think it's more so just they've been close on pace throughout the day today. I've been impressed with what we've seen from Harman. Harman's the closest to championship competitors, mind you, outside of McMullen for the championship fight. 69 points back entering the day. Still amongst one of the quickest cars to the racetrack much of the day. It's been more so the improvement, I think, when you mark so Nicholas Schwartz, because he's shown flashes of speed Schwartz has this season, but that disqualification DNF stretch in the middle of the season where he had to take 1 drop, but then a second race where the black flags didn't have the points count, a major shift in where he'd be in the championship. If that round likely counted, we're talking about Schwartz being potentially fighting for the top 5 instead of the edge of the top 10 points today.
Could be a very different story indeed. Here's Marlon McMullen on to the penultimate lap. Here we go, with just over 4 minutes remaining in this season. I mean, to be honest, for a championship leader and winner here, Justin, we've spoken about him probably the least of any championship leader a championship winner there's ever been, but he's always so far in front of everyone else that it's impossible to mention him all the time. Here comes Eric Harman, though, and where the battle is, side by side contact as Schwartz got onto the grass there. He got into the side of Harman, who goes around. He'll now wait for him, but Jeff Evans will take second place as a result.
Wow, that's the only thing you can say. Harman does not seem to be getting quickly up the pace there. Schwartz really trying to back it down to figure things out here, to figure out if he should let him go. It looks like he's picked up the tempo again. Just looked like just the mistake with the, not just the contact, but the clip of the grass.
Yeah, he just got into the grass. I don't think he was pushed there. I think he just...
There it is there.
Oh, he just gets the grass there, and I'm not sure whether Harmon didn't give him enough room or whether he did it on his own accord. I think he just did it on his own accord by the look that we got there, and you know, he'll hold his hands up to a mistake, I think.
Yeah, I did see a little bit of the door contact. You seen the very tight contact along the edge of the mirrors in the door. But it was more so the grass, indeed, with that step out, because, again, you hit the grass on that entry, it causes you to just kick out, lose that traction because of that grip difference being so drastic. And that's completely decimated the top three running, and Jeff Evans all of a sudden up to second because of all that.
And he will get second as well, because I think Schwartz is waiting here, albeit a bit impatiently, for Eric Harmon. I think he feels a little bit bad and is waiting, or he's just going slowly at the moment, but gap's now down to 3 seconds, and the car just sounds a little bit off at the moment. I don't think it's damaged here at all. I don't think it was hard enough contact for even to get damage, actually, but he's losing time to Harmon, although he seems to have picked it up now at the more technical section here.
Like I said, I think he was trying to let him go initially, but it just took so long that it almost seems like they shouted, someone said to someone, or Harmon said to somebody, go ahead, just go, finish the race. If it happens towards the finish line, that's going to be the interesting mark too, to see if there's that call there. But outside of that, right now it's just a matter of finish it out, because we're down to the final 93 seconds of the year.
Final lap here at Bathurst. One more trip over Mount Panorama for Marlon McMullen to crown himself the Production Car Challenge champion for Season 2 of 2023. This series, unfortunately, reaching its end after this season. It will be the GR86 series coming up after this, and providing he signs up for it, Justin, and why wouldn't he? He's going to be nailed-on favourite for that championship, because he's been unbeatable so far this season, ever since he participated in his first time of the season, which was round 2.
Yeah, again, what can you say? Marlon McMullen, long-time driver when it comes to these types of events. Been very quick when it comes to Precision Racing League, especially when it comes to some of the esports outfit action as well. He's been a very reliable driver for them over the past years. So now, just need to close out the campaign cleanly. Just one con to deal with to send it on home with a 9 for 10 victory season.
We haven't seen often a much better season from anyone in that respect. Fantastic so far from Mark McMullen. It's not long to go. Down towards the final couple of corners, excuse me, turn 2 I should say, come Nathan Miller and Kevin Bergqvist in this fight for what is 6th place overall and 5th in the GR86s. That's Miller going a little bit wide, and here will come Bergqvist on the outside line in towards the cutting. It will be absolutely on between these two because it is the last lap, although Miller will hold on for the moment. And it's going to be an interesting battle to watch going down towards the chase for the final time. All bets will be off between those two.
Yeah, they've been staying close all throughout this final run, I've noticed. Bergqvist has just stayed in the popcorn position. The thing is, though, Miller has had some slip-ups here and there throughout this race. Just needs to close it out. All while old man Marlon looking to close out the season for the final corners.
In towards Murray's corner at his home, on home soil, on Mount Panorama, Bathurst. It's Marlon McMullen out of the final turn. He is the Production Car Challenge champion for Season 2 of 2023 in the Precision Racing League. What a dominant season it's been from the GR86 winner. Once again, for the 9th time this season, he has taken the top step of the podium again, away from the rest by half a minute in the end. Kevin Sandiego's going to do it again in MX5 as well. It's been a similarly dominant season from him, having now won 8 of the 10 races here. But 5th place in the GR86s is going to be fought over right to the line. It's in towards the chase for these two. Bergqvist down the inside. Although Miller's going to have the inside for the braking zone. So here they go, in towards the left-hander. It's a great run around the outside for Kevin Bergqvist. He looks like he'll take a top 5 at the finale.
Yeah, very well done to be able to set up that pass for Bergqvist. That might play some dividends when it comes to that team fight, keep in mind, on that structuring and how things were playing up for Miller's championship hopes, now losing a point right at the end.
Oh, here's the battle for P7 in the GR86 as well. It doesn't end here. Jimmy Richards and Doug Evans making contact. I'm afraid it's Evans who's off into the sand. He's making sandcastles like he's on the beach on a summer's day. And unfortunately, he'll have to pick that out of his shoes later on, you'd imagine, and take 8th place to the line.
I don't think that was contact. I think that was just touching the grass, unless that is the biggest gust of air seen ever. That was just self-inflicted.
Does iRacing have gusts of air that strong? Not sure.
Not usually.
No, I'm not sure. We'll see what he goes for after the race. We might find out from one of the replays maybe at some point. But yeah, that's a disappointing end, I guess, to his race. But here are your race results. Marlon McMullen winning by over half a minute ahead of Jeff Evans. Nicholas Schwartz third, with Eric Harmon in 4th after that fantastic fight those three had. Kevin Bergqvist beat Nathan Miller to the line for 5th. Jimmy Richards held off Doug Evans in that fight for 7th place we just saw, with Richard Modric finishing 1 lap down. Andrew Sharp finishing 5 laps down in that race. He was just ahead, though, of some of the others who had more problems in the GR86 category, like Mark Kalin and Joseph Bear, who were down in 11th and 12th, respectively. Kevin Sandiego won in the Masters ahead of Sean Bancroft. Good fight between those two early on, but the pit stops won it for the champion. Michael Chase third, ahead of Kelly Greenhoe, with Andrew Bonero rounding out the top 5. Austin Butler Chase was 6th, ahead of Ian Cabana and Edward Peltz, who were 1 lap down. Ryan Kings and Roman Bykov will not score points from this race after scoring another DNF on their record. Chance Chet and Alex Tita both didn't... Alex Tita didn't emerge from the pit lane, actually, and Chance Chet was 10 laps down. Well, that's the first race of the night complete. The Production Car Challenge now over for another season. Let's bring in our champions and race winners from that one, starting with Marlon McMullen. Marlon, welcome to the move one last time. Your 9th win here in this season. On home soil, I can imagine you enjoyed tonight very much.
Oh, that was a lot of fun, boys. I mean, that was awesome. I love racing around here. I'm a bit confused now because I've come 14th, so I'm actually not the winner anymore.
Is that true? Yeah, how has that happened?
I think because I did a little bit of celebration and the remaining time was going, it's DQ'd me.
Oh, right. Well, that's not that doesn't stand up at the end of the race, because you certainly deserve the win, no doubt about that, and you deserve the championship as well. Just tell us what it's been like on this journey over the course of the last 10 weeks. I know you didn't participate the first round of the season, but ever since then you've come back with a bang, and it's been fantastic. How have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, last season I got me heels into the hot water racing against Mariana and Kevin and Jason, I think is his name, and they really set me up good for this season. I mean, I was just going to be happy to get 1 win, but you know, we came out there and we started to get a little bit of confidence, and then started to, I guess, put down my markings and just took it week by week, sort of focused on me. And yeah, you know, it was a bit of a journey. I mean, I hate saying that word, but it was an adventure, I guess, over the season. So. And every week, you know, it's something different. I mean, you might be winning, but you can be having your own little problems and issues like that. So today I was having problems with spiking pedals, but I was able just to sort of, you know, pull that out of my head and just sort of focus on the job. And that's what I've done each and every week, just sort of just focus on the job and as fast as I can go.
Absolutely, and it did. I apologise for using the word journey there in that one. But there we are. It's just a phrase. I don't know. Anyway. Congratulations, Marlon, on your 9th win of the season, and congratulations on officially sealing the title as well, even if it was mathematically impossible to lose it this time as well. Thanks for joining us once again, as you have done so often throughout this season, and congrats once again.
Thank you so much, guys, and obviously thank you to yourselves for putting on the broadcast. Thank you to PRL, Advanced Sim Racing, Racebox Sim Racing, The Butt Kicker, Mecca Sim Hardware, Ninja Trader, and Muradness.
Thanks very much, Marlon McMullen. winner once again here at Bathurst tonight in the GR86 category and overall. Kevin Sandiego was winner in the MX5s, and he joins us now as well. Kevin, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. The battle with Sean Bancroft was a good one early on, but you just managed to outdo him in the pit stops. What do you think that was down to? Was it the outlap and in-lap? Was it the time spent on pit lane? Did you have to save fuel a little bit to account for that shorter pit stop time? What was going on in that phase?
Yeah, I think I just had faster pit entry. I think it came down to that. I just really practiced that a few times, make sure I could get in there quickly. I noticed I was about 2 or 3 seconds faster in the pit stall, and that's enough to get past the draft and be able to open up a gap, and that's what I was able to do, because before that, it's really hard in these cars. If somebody's within 2 seconds, they've got, tractor beam to your rear bumper, so it's really tough to break that. And if you get past 2 seconds, then you have a chance to move away if you have a bit more pace. And I think that's what happened tonight. Really fun race, though. Really tough track. I always have a good time here, though.
And it's been a very good season for you as well. This is your 8th win of the season, champion as well, of course, but you will have known that going into today. How are you going to reflect on this season looking back?
Yeah, I really like running the MX5s. Bummed they're not going to be on the calendar next season, but we'll go give something else a try. Maybe do F3 again.
Well, it'd be great to see you down there. Kevin, congratulations on MX5 Championship victory and race victory here tonight, and thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for PRL for putting this on. Definitely was a fun season, and great to race, everybody. See you again next time.
Thanks very much. We look forward to seeing you there. Kevin Sandiego, victorious here at Bathurst tonight. He was just ahead of Sean Bancroft, who joins us once again as well. Second place tonight, Sean. Couldn't quite get Kevin Sandiego in the end. Through the pit stop phase, really, is where he lost the draft, of course, which is so crucial around here at Bathurst. But do you look back at this race and feel like there's something more that he could have done throughout today, or was Kevin just a bit too quick?
Well, as we saw from the beginning, I broke the toe to Michael Chase, and from there I just latched onto his draft, trying to stick with him down the straights. But yeah, he put the moves on. I don't have anything else to say about that. He just juked me out, dove into the pits. I couldn't quite follow him. And after that, I felt like my pace dropped off a little, not just because I didn't have a draft, but I had been so focused on following him and copying his movements that I was struggling to emulate that with him not in front of me.
It does get very difficult. In terms of the overall season here, Sean, you came into today 8 points behind Michael Chase. Given the fact he joined you on the podium, you're not going to overtake him in the standings, so you'll remain second and third in the standings as well, with you remaining third, of course. So that's where you'll end up in the season. How will you reflect on this one overall?
For the most part, I think I did pretty okay. I had some good, clean racing, but then, of course, I had the incident last week at Summit Point where I missed my braking zone a little. Unfortunately, Mr. Greenhoe became my brake pedal. So I think the biggest thing is going to be avoiding stuff like that, because if I didn't have that penalty last week, I would have taken second in the championship, but I did unfortunately get the penalty, and Michael Chase had a good, clean race tonight, so there's nothing more I could have done.
Absolutely, and third place is still a fantastic result in the standings either way. Sean, congratulations on a nice season, and thanks for chatting to us once again.
Yeah, thank you. Before I go, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone watching at Josh's house. I hope you have a couple cold beverages waiting for me. To everyone I raced, it's been a real honor. Some incredible racing. Hope to see you guys again soon. And to my girlfriend Olivia, I couldn't have done this without you. I love you very much, and thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us. Sean Bancroft, second place here today at Bathurst. Well, that was all very lovely. We'll now, unfortunately, bid a very fond farewell to the Production Car Challenge. It's been a great servant to us for the past 10 weeks here in the Precision Racing League. But as I mentioned, the GR86 series will be the first of the two that we cover here on Monday nights here on RaceSpotTV moving forward after this one. We still got another championship to decide though, and this one is up for grabs. It's time for the GT4 Fix Series here tonight. and we'll have a look at how we stand going into the day. Beckham Jasir is 54 points ahead of Hugo Gallo, and with 57 on the table, it's mathematically possible, albeit unlikely, that changes hands today. Walker Keita moved up to second in the standings last round, with Nicholas Rice-Puto and Justin Raymer having issues. Mathieu Fortin is sixth ahead of Miles Brown, with Michael Terrafino, Ryan Miles, and Kevin Richards. David Richards rounding out the top 10 there in the GT4 drivers standings. In the teams, it's Walking Pace Racing who are at the front, ahead of Atomic Racing and Team Beef. Those three teams covered by 89 points, with Walking Pace likely going to be crowned champions. At Radicals Online 465 Garage, fourth ahead of Race Factory, with Apollo Racing Club in 6th, Drivetrainer Motorsport 7th, Delta Sport in the 7th place out of Grizzlies of Attrition, and Moradness M Squad in the 10th place in those teams' standings. So it's time for the GT4 series here, Justin. It's time for Laguna Seca as well, which of course we'll get into as a circuit. But Beckham Jasir, 54 points ahead of the rest. It's probable, more than probable, he will take the title today, but there's always that thing in the back of your mind that you just never know until you've definitely got it.
Well, there are two major keys when it comes to today. Beckham Jasir already likely to check off the first box, start the race. But there is a second box he needs to check to be able to secure the championship. Make it to the halfway point past the 20-minute mark. If he makes it past 20 minutes, he wins the championship, because we only have 23 entrants. The smallest grouping towards that grouping up the season should say, the largest 41 for reference this campaign. So as long as Jasir does not make a mistake that fatally ends his race, he can win this championship.
Things will be a little bit different if we had, 50 or more cars on the grid, but we don't have that at this end of the season. If that was the case, by the way, he would have to finish only 48th or better to clinch the championship, which would be, very difficult to not do, you'd imagine. But with the cars we have here, that's not a consideration. As Justin says, it is about making it to the halfway point. Those halfway points, by the way, are denoted by the laps that you complete. So, for example, what are we suspecting we're going to have? Maybe, 30 laps today? Then he'll need to do 15, and so on and so forth. So it's not about the time that you are running for, but the laps that you complete. So he could have an incident in the first 10 minutes, come in the pit lane, and then drive for the last 10 minutes as well, and it would still be fine as long as he does the laps that are required of him. I do wonder how he's going to take this one, though, here, Justin, in terms of this circuit. It's a circuit that can bite you if you get things that little bit wrong, ever so marginally. And so I wonder if he'll be just taking things a little bit conservatively, a little bit cautiously today, just to make sure he gets through the race, gets to the title, or whether he'll realise that Hugo Gallo needs to win the race also today to even stand a chance, and maybe he'll just feel the pressure off and maybe go for the race win as he's done so often this season, even despite this situation he's in.
There was a question asked in regards to that situation. Jasir's the quickest on the track right now, not just in quali, but in the practice, 3/10 up over the field. So I think that answers your question in terms of what the play is. Just outpace everybody might be part of that mindset today. Even just in terms of how quick he's been in the season as a whole, that really helps in that mark. Everyone else, I think, still has a lot to race for. Terrafino, we've seen really strong in this series in the past. Want to see if he can finish out the season strong. You have Justin Ream, who technically is on a double header tonight, because earlier tonight, racing in PES Canada competition to close out that campaign, he made it just in time. He was questionable because of the potential of the finishing time of that PES Canada race. He's 6th in qualifying right now. You have drivers like Hugo Gallo who have shown speed in the league scene over the years. He's currently amongst the top 10. Rice-Puto amongst those who showed good speed. It's right now been a time where he's tried to catch up after a slow past couple weeks. He's back in 13th, shockingly. So to answer your question, Jasir, I think, is going to be amongst those just wanting to finish out strong, finish up in front of the field, keep the track position. Everyone else, I think, is still going to be where you're going to be fighting hard just to get at least a chance to rip away the race win and get one more win to close out the season.
It's the real final day of school feel, I guess, isn't it? It's the championship finale day, and we'll have plenty more of those here on RaceSpotTV. Let's not forget, it's championship finale week, really. Starting off with the GT3 fixed and open series tomorrow night. Those titles will be decided once and for all. After that, the Xfinity and Truck Series night will be decided as well, and then F3 series will also be decided on the Thursday. So make sure you stay tuned here on RaceSpotTV to see the climax of those before the Cup Series finale on the Sunday. Just over 5 minutes to go in qualifying here, with Beckham Jasir ahead of Justin Remy, who's just got up to second. Max Villeneuve, Walker Caton and Adam Brockway inside your top 5. But I want to talk about this circuit a little bit here around Laguna Seca. I've got to say, I really don't enjoy driving it, and it's very difficult to overtake around here. But one thing that you can say about this circuit, there is no room for error, certainly in iRacing anyway. There's no room for error around all of these corners. It is as punishing as ever.
Yeah, and punishing in multiple different sections. The Andretti hairpin has gotten a lot more calmer over the years, I've noticed, in terms of those comfortable in terms of running that. Turn 3 is where some things can step out because of the chance to be off track when trying to battle a little bit. I've seen incidents through there. The major trouble spots, though. Turn 6 heading to the Rahal Straight. This is pre what is now runoff section. Through that section, you don't have grip if you pass the edge of the pavement around the racetrack. Can spin up very easily. Several times, we've seen crashes in that section. There's also the corkscrew that has that massive drop. It's a blind corner section. And realistically speaking, if you survive the corkscrew and someone else doesn't, you're like being carried with the person missing the corner. So a lot you have to be able to be heads up about around this racetrack once you get to the top of the racetrack, because of some of those massive elevation changes, but also massive differences in the angle between the pavement and all the sand and dirt. It's
a unique challenge, certainly, and punishing, as we mentioned. Unfortunately, they've decided to punish us by adding runoff at some of the corners in real life. But I understand the reasoning. But even so, it does remove about a 5 metre thin strip of the challenge of the circuit, unfortunately, through this corner of the third last, the rainy curve, and up at turn 5 as well.
And for those wanting the reference who have not seen that, interestingly enough, iRacing has the edge of where they, I think, put the pavement, and if I've looked at that right, where in the real world now it's all pavement up to where you have that line through the Rahal Straight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know in enough detail to know. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But as I say, oh dear, that could have been awkward, and it was awkward for Michael Terrafino. A good job he wasn't on a lap there in the Team Beef Mercedes.
That was Beckham Jasir, who I think spun it out on the corkscrew.
I think you're right, actually. Certainly one of the fiercely forward cars. And he is the only one of them, as far as I'm aware. So, Beckham Jasir, unfortunately, causing himself a bit of a problem there. It was previously, of course, Race Factory, I think, as far as I can remember. Beckham Jasir, but swapped mid-season. That means he won't be winning a team's championship with anybody else. But since he's driving on his own, in his own team anyway, that was never a realistic possibility for him. He's now representing Fiercely Forward, and maybe we'll see him in other series on RaceSpotTV moving forward as well. Let's take a little bit of time on board with Michael Terrafino then, just to show you the challenge here of Laguna Seca. The sandy, the side of you, the medium speed corners as well, that are just coming thick and fast, and again and again and again. It's a very, very flowing circuit, you've got to say, around here. But I think these GT4s especially will lack just that little bit of high downforce that makes this circuit, really, really quick. It's going to be a challenge, and understeer is going to be a bit of a problem around some of the parts of this circuit as well, but it's going to be fun as well at other points, like here at the corkscrew, the plunge downhill and towards the final 3 corners.
And that can catch you off guard on that run to the corkscrew. Some differences for some drivers, 1 to 2 seconds by the time you get to this part of the track. Even then, because of that need to swing the car around through 10, coming out of raining curve, then to be able to get back through the outside to go for the apex of 10, to be able to set up towards the inside part of that curving. You take that wrong, you step out with the left rear tire, it spins you out. Terrafino, though, for the most part, doing Terrafino things. The thing is, needing to find a lot of speed here, 6/10. I don't know if there's going to be enough time to find 6/10 out of the back pocket here.
I don't think so. It's not been a very Michael Terrafino season so far, really. I was expecting a little bit more from him, but finally at the Nordschleife round, he did get his podium, the only one that he's had so far. That was a day, by the way, where only 15 finished of the order. It was a very attritional one indeed, as you would expect from that circuit, but started off pretty poorly by his pretty high standards. Was way down at the opening round in 21st position and 1 lap down at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That was a quite attritional race as well, with a lot going on. I think he was one of those involved. It does seem, though, that away from our cameras, Justin Ream has been going very quickly and might have just stolen pole position there right at the end. I didn't even know he was on a lap. But Justin Ream might well have stolen pole position for this race with the very, very almost last roll of the wheels there. And I think he may have done. There's a few more still out there, but as far as I can see, the McLaren driver is on pole here.
I think he did that a few moments ago. In fact, in the final couple minutes, very quietly in the midst of the shade in one of the Hyper Race geodesic cars. Hydro Race, should rather say. But for the most part, though, checker flag waving for just about all the drivers here, needing to make sure to close it if for some. Miles Brown amongst those, who is having a very solid day today in this quality session, though, I've noticed. Top 6. Very well done when it comes to Miles Brown to be able to handle this racetrack so far in this session. For reference, 7th entering the day in the championship.
Here is the 222 of Miles Brown, who often finds himself with Ryan Miles, but they're quite separated. I'm hoping they're going to stay separated as well for this race, because I've had enough trouble with it this season. Oh dear, that'll be an off track though. And he will stay in 6th place and no better in the final moments here. This is Joaquim Nogueira in the BMW. He's over the line and won't be improving there. He's not been to many races so far this season. Only 2 of them, a DNS at all the others, but has not scored a top 20 yet this season. And so we will get a look in a few moments' time at the grid and show you who is where, ready for the final race of the season, the championship deciding race of this season, with Beckham Jasir looking for that elusive title. If Hugo Gallo doesn't win, there is no chance that Jasir can lose this. If Jasir completes more than half the race, there's also no chance that he will lose it. Let's have a look at your starting grid then, with Justin Ream on the pole ahead of Beckham Jasir. Then it will be Adam Brockway and Max Villeneuve. Walker Caton and Miles Brown on row 3. They're about half second back, with Marco Terrafino and Hugo Gallo, who needs to gain 7 places today and win this race from 8th. Nicholas Rasputo is 9th ahead of David Richards. Then it's Joaquim Nogueira and Joshua Chinsky in the 12th place. Matthew Fortin, 13th ahead of Ryan Miles, with Jordan Rixigrini in 15th and Robert Ridgway. David Van Roy is with Vincent Generou in the 18th position on the grid. Few more to come at the back end. Jeff Fleischman and Roy Brown on row 10, with Glenn Vanko, the final driver, to set a time. Brian Huskingers and Jack Stevenson on the back, having not set times, and hopefully they will get going for this race. 40 minutes then. Final race of the season. Not a lot to be decided here, Justin, but the pressure will be on for Beckham Jasir to at least finish this race.
Yeah, just has to survive. No mandatory damage repairs. Just fix your way through the corner, or rather survive your way through the racetrack. So it's going to be critical to just survive. Knowing Jasir likely also not going to make it easy on Ream, though, because you have 2 high volume teams in terms of speed and positioning. Fiercely Forward, one of the stronger teams up and coming over the past few years. Hydro Race Geodesic Racing, With the name change, still very quick. As long as they keep it clean, that's been a star next to their critical part of having the speed we've seen over the years, is keep it on the track.
We've also got other big teams like Delta Sport in this field. We know that the Team Beef guys are always up there and will be inside the top 10 as well. You would imagine Radicals online as well. But you're absolutely right. It's a high-class front row. Justin Ream and Beckham Jasir, iRacing, Geodesic Racing and Fiercely Forward. Those two teams who have fighted it out in the Hyperx Club Sport Series, for example, many times here on RaceSpotTV, part of the IVRA competition we have here. We saw Beckham Jasir driving in some of that during the final round at Suzuka not so long ago, and I think it is a good call from Jasir to join a team like that and start doing those kind of longer events, because he's great use to a team like that, racing GT4s, maybe GT3s as well, where he'd be strong. A great addition to that team. Unfortunately they didn't win that day, but he will be an important component for them moving forward. 90 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. I think that's just over 30 Celsius for those who are working in my metrics there, where we just pick and choose what we want when we want. But 3:30 in the afternoon, shouldn't be getting much colder than this. It's not bad temperatures at all.
Not too hot, not too cold. Enough to at least get the tire temperatures up within about a lap or so. So for the most part, shouldn't be too many issues outside of the first lap when it comes to tire temperatures, in theory, today.
Final few corners then, down the corkscrew towards the start of 40 minutes of racing, the final 40 minutes here this season. With 9 rounds down, only 1 to go, and the first proper title decider here in the Precision Racing League this season, although the odds are hugely long for Hugo Gallo to take this one away for Beckham Jasir. He's on the front row, with Gallo a long way behind. It will be the race for the win that's likely more intriguing, with Justin Ream on the front straight and now in control of that field. Jasir trying to get as close to him as possible. Anticipate that start, and now the geodesic driver goes. The green flag waves one last time. We're racing in California as we go down towards turn number 2 for the first time. Rim in the lead here with Jasir down his inside almost. It's a lap round the outside for another one of the McLarens, but Rim goes way too deep on the brakes. He's wide, Jasir is through, and that's one of the easier passes for the lead we'll see today.
The extremely common and our issue for Brockway. We've seen the same issues in the section of qualifying.
Through turn 3, he grabs the wall with the rear end, spins into the wall as well, and he will drop way down. You can see the little hole in the field where he's been left, actually, and then there's all kinds of battling going on behind that. Gallo, I think, has gotten through to 6th places with Tarafino, Richards and RaceSpotTV, who go side by side towards turn 6, and through in the dip they will go now, but it's Jasir in the lead, then Ream, Villeneuve, then it is Brown and then Caton inside the top 5 with that little hole that left by Brockway, unfortunately. A fairly dramatic opening lap until Villeneuve has gone around. Here's the replay with Brockway, who just lost it on his own.
Yeah, and clipped the wall for good measure, buddy. You mentioned Villeneuve going around right in the midst of the corkscrew, a full 360. No one hit him somehow. That is difficult to not get hit in the midst of the corner exit like the 465 managed.
Well, somewhat remarkable, but they've all gotten away with it as Gallo loses a place to Tarafino. For whatever reason, side by side they are actually through turn 1 and in towards 2. Tarafino on the inside line should have the place as well, with Nicholas RaceSpotTV involved in battling. He's through on another one of the McLarens as David Richards gets alongside the driver's 2nd place in the championship. That was all very close. It's Richards who's gotten through then. Who's just behind Gallo. Then it's RaceSpotTV who's got through on Noguera. Then it's Ryan Miles who's down there as well in that fight for 8th place, just in behind. It's been quite a lively start to this race, and it continues for 9th place.
Mentioned RaceSpotTV not having the best of qualified runs. Just got to the edge of the top 10 at the edge of the session. but just seems to be Munstall stuck in the midst of all this fighting. Here's the problem. You fight too long, you end up losing the main grouping. That's what Rasputin has now done, where he's lost the main grouping.
Oh.
As someone nearly said goodbye to the technical side and checks up everybody.
That really scared me there for a moment, but it was Joachim Nogueira got away with it. This is actually the battle for 8th place, by the way. I misspoke earlier on. Nicolas Rasputo is at the front of it, although trying to get away from it right now. And you're always going to be a little bit fearful. Ryan Miles here in an awkward place. When you've got a car like that in front of you, he's now off the road. He's Nogueira. He's caught the car quite well, but Miles will go to the outside of the final corner nevertheless. Chinsky goes deep as well, and so we'll have 2 sets of cars side by side as Max Tilly-Nueva gets side by side as well in the 2 McLarens. It's over the line and through turn 1 they'll go. The BMW should hold this one with the inside line at turn 2, and of the McLarens it'll be Max Tilly-Nueva who's recovering from that little incident down the hill to get up into 11th place and now maybe 10th as he goes to the outside of Ryan Miles in towards turn 3. He'll have that place and he's inside the top 10 again.
Could almost sense it just with how he was angling that position of the line, saying, if that door's open by the apex, I'm going to go right through it. That's exactly what the Radicals machine just did there to be able to get that position back there. The thing is, though, this pack already losing 2 seconds as a result of all this squabbling. They've lost a lot of time to that main pack up the track.
They certainly have. And that's not ideal, but I don't know how highly their sights will have been set highly up the track either way, but let's wait and see. Oh, that was a lot of weaving around from Ryan Miles as he tried to just defend from Joshua Chinsky just behind. Chinsky was the driver who went a little bit deep into the final turn last lap, and he might have to do that again here, but maybe on the inside, maybe making a dive on Ryan Miles. As your leaders down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. By the way, still just here, then Miles Brown, the top 3 getting away from the rest of the field.
And 2 of your top drivers doing top driver things. Just taking the personal best lap right back from Jasir. Brown with an issue, though, is dropping down the pylon.
Is it technical? I think it is.
No, it's across the track. Brown has spun it and nearly crossed the track in front of traffic.
Wow, that was unexpected. I thought it was technical, but no, it is indeed an incident. One of his fellow BMWs, Joachim Nogueira, gets back through on Max Tilly-Nueva there into 8th place. That's a fantastic move. And into 8th place he goes. Here's Miles Brown. Just goes for a spin. The BMW just could not hold that level of grip any longer. And he's very lucky not to get hit by someone there. Oh, and he got right in front of Nogueira. That's how those positions changed and battled again.
I think that's where you say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I understand how tight that situation was there, but you don't cross the track with less than a second to do so. 1/2 a second, even a 1/4 second later, we would have seen a stack up of this whole pack, and now instead, they're trying to stack tear up, it looks like, at the cross through the corkscrew without their bumping.
To be fair, you can't blame him for wanting to get out of the way because it was dangerous, but doing that was equally as dangerous, you could argue. Ryan Miles then down the inside of Nogueira, who's been really stuffed out of momentum ever since that. Oh, that's down the inside from Miles Brown and very nearly got into Ryan Miles there. Joshua Chinsky had to deal with it on the outside and flashes the lights as well. Mathieu Fortin will get through on Chinsky, maybe both of them. The McLaren driver not happy at all. They'll go down to turn 2 as the 2 BMWs are on the defensive. Ryan Miles on the outside, Miles Brown on the inside, although not with each other, confusingly. It's Mathieu Fortin who's trying to make the move on the second of the 2 BMWs. None of the positions, though, will change in towards turn 2. This is very lively, though, in the midfield.
Well, the wish you said you didn't want to have come true just came true for you. But I still think, based on the way the racing is playing, though, a lot of those on recovery drives are basically showcasing that they feel confident on the speed to the point where you leave any gap, they're willing to try and send it as long as they can make it stick on the brakes. And that can be a little bit frustrating. Already Brown much quicker going through the Greyhall straight.
They just know that our lives are made difficult by this, don't they? Because they've been very similar pace so far this season, actually. Miles Brown, it seems very quick around here. And I thought we were going to get away with it, but clearly not. He's hounding Ryan Miles in exactly the position where last lap he made that move on Chinsky that the McLaren driver really wasn't very pleased with. I think it was born out of a bit of frustration, really, down into the final turn. Although he is strong on the brakes down there. Ryan Miles was quite late on the brakes there as well. He'll need a good exit because the BMW is very close and not going to let him get away. Will he have a look towards the inside down here at turn 2 where things just went wrong for the BMW driver a couple of moments ago? He will. He looks to the inside. Miles will cut it off. That was close between the two, and now Ryan Miles will know what Brown's preferred overtaking chance is, and maybe he'll start to cover that off from now on.
Like I said, you leave the door open up towards that apex. Someone's likely to go right on through it in the midst of the recovery drives today. We've seen that with 2 different drivers already. I think the main thing that's now causing Miles Brown to get into a little bit of pause here is, now that that opportunity has been taken away, how does he try and get this done cleanly without making significant contact here or going for a massive dive bomb? Already, he's been quicker on the back end of the racetrack. First half of the track, Ryan Miles is a little bit quicker. Miles Brown, much quicker once you get to the Rahal straight all the way down to the corkscrew and the confidence level and the speed.
Yeah, it just seems that that's the kind of dynamic going on at the moment, and this is the fascinating thing you get with the GT4 series. The difference in manufacturers, the strengths and weaknesses of the two, and it balances out quite nicely over the course of the race and over the course of the season as well. There goes Miles Brown, diving from miles back, and Ryan Miles has no choice but to leave him the room. He weaves around almost to complain, I guess, but that was very nicely executed from the 222. He threw him back into the top 10. Ryan Miles has no response, and not many people would after that dive from Brown. It was very nicely done.
I don't know how he made the corner with how hard he had to hit the brakes there, with how deep the dive was. Didn't even get a slowdown go in the runoff area. That is impressive with just how much you can make that car stick there, right at the very edge of how much you can send it deep there.
He was not leaving anything to chance at all, and has got his reward into 10th place at the moment. Joachim Nogueira has got away a little bit actually, and he'll have to do some catching up for his fellow BMW driver. But Ryan Miles still staying with him for the moment, and maybe we'll pick up 1 or 2 things by following down the hill here, as we were hearing after interviews in the production car challenge. I know Bathurst is a different circuit, but you can certainly do that. There's the dive, and to be fair, he makes the apex. He doesn't need. Ryan Miles just gives an awful lot of room. I think Miles was expecting Miles Brown to go miles off at the final corner and have to avoid there, but that's not the case. And that BMW just has a lot of stopping power at the final turn.
Just looking from that angle compared to seeing it live though too, it seemed like he realized, okay, there's a little bit or much earlier break than his comfort zone from Ryan Miles there, and that kind of forced that issue a little bit. You just don't expect him from 4 car lanes back, like we've seen there in the braking zone.
Yeah, here we go with P4, Tarafino and Gallo. Very important one for Hugo Gallo, of course, to win this race, but we're edging ever closer to that halfway mark where Beckham Jasir will know he can clinch the title. And even so, I don't think Gallo would have been banking on this. I think he's far more interested actually in holding on to 2nd place in the championship, because he's only 8 points ahead of Walker Caton and 10 in front of Rice Puto. At the moment, Caton's not far enough in front to actually take that position off of him, but that's more of a realistic battle really for 2nd in the standings.
And even then though, based on some of the raw tempo in some of the back and forth, even with the scrapping between these cars, they are a little bit quicker compared to the walking pace car in front by a couple tenths right now in the back end of this run. So it's, I think, more so if they start just trying to coordinate a little bit, try and push the issue, try and find that little gap, they might be able to close up to make it a fight towards the final few minutes of this race. The thing is, if they have a wrestling match for this 4th spot, you throw away all the chance to get up to Caden, since Caden is slipping back.
Yeah, that is possibility, I guess, for either of them, but they seem to be slowing each other down maybe by watching each other at the moment. Tarafino and Gallo, we'll see if that is the case. Just around a third of the way through this one now then in at Laguna Seca. The final round of the GT4 series of the PRL. The championship very nearly settled. Plenty of battles going on up and down the field. This one for 4th place in the main part of your screen. Now we go to the one further down for 10th place on back. Well, excuse me, this is even further back than that, isn't it? This is Joshua Chinsky and then Jordan Ricciagrini, Robert Ridgway, Adam Brockway. So the group has been disconnected because it previously was the battle all the way from 10th place down here. Now the field spread out a little bit more. Be interested to see how much progress Adam Brockway can make this race though, because he did have that issue earlier on, and he's up to 16th place for now.
Little recovery. Hearing some big dives are on the platter.
Wow.
And thought about the move, it seemed. That is not a move you see work through the course tour, but it looks like that kind of scared off Richards to say, if you're willing to do that, I'm just going to let you go. I don't want to get spun around here for the top 10.
Yeah, it seemed like he didn't really want any involvement in that at all, really, but there we are. They've sorted themselves out, and Bryce Pito through. Richards holding down 7th at the moment. There's Miles Brown. Here's Robert Ridgway, who's made the move on Adam Brockway. That's confusing. I've been getting them mixed up for some reason. Ridgway going right wide at the final turn. And that was very easy. I don't know whether he just gave that position over or made a mistake, but it looked very, very strange of an exchange, actually.
I think it's more so just trying to let him go a little bit. Based on that angle, it was a little bit of a different angle compared to what we've seen with Ryan Miles in terms of that fight for reference. Ridgway just seemed intentionally going to the outside, knowing you lost the spots early. Still intrigued, though, on how things have played out when it comes to this 21 machine. Struggled along in the qualifying, crashed a couple times, I noticed. Still up 2 spots. Still keeping a hold of the main grouping despite some of those struggles earlier.
Ah, here we go. Justin Rim is very close to Beckham Jasir here. We don't often, we haven't seen this for quite some time. These are pictures from a little bit earlier on, by the way. But Rim getting very close towards the corkscrew. And Bryce Peter's off. And around goes Tillineweb through the final corner. So all sorts of consternation going on down there. Joaquim Nogueira was involved. Tillineweb round at the final corner. Into the pit lane, as you'd expect there. Came in one of the McLarens as well. That's a solo car incident for him. Nogueira was an innocent party in that one. Just gained a place from it. And into the pit lane came Rice Puto in that. So pit window's very much open, although it is a little bit early.
I think Rice Puto just parked it, Ewan. Rice Puto's out of the race all of a sudden.
That is a bizarre one. He was running quite well in 6th place, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Rice Puto for him to say, you know what, I'm coming in. That's the exact same time as that spin around. I will say the reason for the spin, he did clip the gravel. Tonoiva did to the left side of the racetrack in the middle of that curbing. All while this is going on.
Yeah,
Justin Ream, for the most, he's just been keeping him Jasir within reaching distance. Capped it out in terms of closing distance to half a second. Has stayed lockstep with Jasir all race. Not wanting to let him go. He let him go early for the gap. Closed it up quick. Just trying to keep him within range in case there's any slip up once you finish the pit strat.
This is the fight in the bottom right, going on further down with Brockway involved. Chinsky at the front of that train, and he's learned from his mistakes as well, defending into the final corner now, almost solely as a result of Miles Brown, I'd imagine. Ricciagrini very close, and the three of them could be covered by a blanket towards turn 1, I would say. Brockway now up to 13th. He's made up a few positions since we've started following him in the last 3 or 4 minutes. He's made up another place there, up into 12th place, and I think people around him right now are slightly less willing to actually battle with him because of they just know how much pace he's got, and they know he had an issue earlier on in the race.
Again, that comes down to big picture racing, deciding what battles are worth fighting, what battles you're doing. So we take a look at Giroux. Too much on the gravel on the right side of the corkscrew in the second portion of it. Some damage now to do with the rest of the way. But getting back to the Brockway thought, yes, you want to finish in front of them. That's a huge confidence lifter. But at the same time, if they are closing in on you by a second a lap, in clean space. You say to yourself, okay, is this worth holding him up? Because usually that ends up with them either being very mad at you or them bumping you out of the way, either accidentally or accidentally, if you get my drift. So, you say most drivers build a lot more respect for you if you know the pace difference and then let things play out compared to fighting it like you're Ryan Newman.
To the pit lane for Joshua Chinsky, just short of the half distance mark here at Laguna Seca. Brock Waite through up into 11th place now, knocking on the door of returning back to that top 10. Just seemed that you are correct, Rasputo did indeed retire from the race for apparently no reason, or no apparent reason anyway, and that is the first scheduled pit stop of anyone there now for Joshua Chinsky. And maybe there'll be quite some more following on from that as well. Now that one's come in, we might see a whole stream of them over the course of the next 10 minutes. They'll certainly have to at some point because of the fuel situation. Just a case of when that will be. As Joaquim Nogueira has actually gotten through on David Richards. Actually, I think that may be even towards the corkscrew for those guys, although we're not entirely sure. Nogueira is having a very good race considering he's never finished inside the top 20 before.
Still impressed with what Nogueira's been able to do throughout this run. The BMW seems strong as a whole, but Nogueira seems to be able to make things work at a lot of sections of the racetrack where things did not seem to look even confident at earlier. A massive turnaround from earlier on in this race.
And at some points in this season as well, where the BMW hasn't really been the favoured car, the best of them is Miles Brown's in 7th place in the championship, but the next one's 17th. That's Corey Groves, who's not here today. It's been a difficult season for the BMWs that were once so dominant, but as it always happens, it will change once again next season, and the one after that, and the one after that. You get the idea. Joaquim Nogueira having one or two connection problems there, but Miles Brown has gotten through on David Richards for 7th place, so that's two of the BMWs making their way through on David Richards there. We're currently riding on board with Kevin Van Roy in the Mercedes, with two of the Porsche Caymans in front, another one of the less famous cars or less well-picked cars this season, with a famous RaceSpot sticker on the back of it as well here for Robert Woodway, certainly powering him along a little bit more than he otherwise would be in this battle for 12th place. Jordan Rexigrini with all kinds of pressure on him, as he has had for the last 10 minutes or so.
Just past the halfway mark on the clock, though. If I'm looking right, Ewan, this lap may clinch the title. Terrafino's crashed.
It's down the hill, isn't it? It's down the hill, and real unfortunate for him. There he is, just after the corkscrew. Thankfully, he didn't rejoin in front of anybody, and it's a very, very fine margin there. And I think, considering the mistake he made and the time he's about to lose, he's pretty unlucky there.
Very unlucky, and had to wait a long time, not just to back up with the right angle, but just wait to make sure he didn't rejoin in front of a lot of traffic, because worries off. You have to sweep towards the left side to be able to get a proper exit to turn 9. You can't just cut across the racetrack or expect drivers to go outside. I think Terrafino just said, you know what, let's pit. But as just said, past halfway estimated laps, Ewan. Big deal for car 12.
Yeah, Beckham just here should now have completed the amount of laps he needs to, which is 50%, to take the championship in the GT4 series for the Precision Racing League. He probably won't even be thinking about that right now. It's about race winning, and Justin Ream is trying to make sure that this championship crowning moment is not a picture perfect one for our winner. Justin Ream wants to make it uncomfortable for the race leader right now. 18 minutes remaining. The two of them very close after that mistake into the corkscrew. Just see it just let a small crack open in his armour, and Justin Ream now going to try to look for that way through.
I think right now when it comes to Ream, he's almost showing the hand that he wants to wait until after the pit window. He is quicker by a couple tenths per lap on the stopwatch, but that doesn't really mean much when the interval stays nearly identical around this racetrack today. I think, again, the play is wait until after the pit stop, try and get a quicker stop. If not, then try and see if you can make this pass, because it's basically stayed stagnant around 5/10 to 6/10 this whole run.
Side by side between Kevin Van Rooyen from Ridgeway here in towards turn 2. And Van Rooyen will get through pretty easily and split the two Porsches in what is now a battle for 10th place, with the likes of Joachim Nogueira having come in, along with Michael Tarafino. They're the only two real scheduled ones, apart from Chinsky as well, actually. The slightly longer ones for Jack Stevenson and also Tilly Nueve. Bryce Puto out of the race. So, other than that, not many scheduled pit stops so far today. We're still waiting for those with the next quarter of an hour or so. Still less than half a second between 1 and 2. Beckham Jasir gave a slight opportunity to Justin Rehm last lap. Nothing happened, unfortunately. This is Brian Hoskins in towards turn 1, and he has forgotten to brake almost. He'll go out wide at turn 2, and to a lesser effect, that's effectively what Justin Rehm did on the opening lap to give Beckham Jasir the overall lead of this race.
You notice Hoskins has struggled a little bit in the Andretti hairpin throughout the day. Part might have been the factor, but pit window wide open is more important here. Money stop time, Miles Brown, Matthew Fortin, David Van Rooyen amongst those already peeling on in. The average pit stop time about 16 seconds so far for a scheduled stop.
So that's what we're looking for. That's the kind of region we're hoping for as well from these drivers. Miles Brown was the first of them in from the top 10. We'll see where he is in relation to Joachim Nogueira, who he was pretty near beforehand. Ticks over at 17.8 seconds though. Matthew Fortin's going to jump him. Miles Brown clearly, in all the battling, may have picked up some damage somewhere. He certainly picked up a longer stop.
So about 18 seconds, not too concerned, but did lose track position over 10, but a 15-second pit stop on the Delta. So at least going to have to find a little bit. Plus you have one of the BMWs who had an undercut call here, but also had an 18-second pit stop. So two of the BMWs losing lots of time as the race leaders are in this time.
Speaking of undercuts, Beckham Jasir is into the pit lane, and now Justin Rehm has got the big chance for a fantastic in-lap to try and win this race. Walker Caton also into the pit lane. You can see we're getting towards the end of the fuel window. Hugo Gallo will stay out on the racetrack. Still waiting, by the way, for the top 11 drivers to come into the pit lane. Ryan Miles and Adam Brockway also come in now, but Jordan Rixagrini and Robert Ridgway look like they're going to both carry on. Oh no, Rixagrini will come into the pit lane. Ridgway will go for one more. Jasir's pit stop time then, 17.3 seconds. A little bit longer than what we've seen from some others, but that's the time we're looking for now with this car in a few moments' time.
I think at this point you have to push hard if you haven't been pushing already. We've talked about how quick Rehm has been to close up the gaps and keep it close since the midst of some of that pull down the straight. Has to be next time by, has to be, though, to be able to cut him off, trying to counter right now, knowing how powerful sometimes that undercut can be around this racetrack with having an extra lap to get your tires up to temperature compared to what he's going to have to deal with. Lots of traffic for some of the cars out of the pits, though.
This is Ryan Miles and Adam Brockway in reverse order. Brockway ahead of Miles, then Fortin, then it's Nogueira, then Brown. So a lot of cars here in the battle for what's 8th place at the moment as Justin Rehm is into the pit lane from the lead. Beckham Jasir at the moment just under half a minute away from taking this race lead away. Rehm will pull into the pit lane though. We'll watch that clock and see how long this stop is. But there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the midfield, as you can see in the main part of your screen.
Yeah, and so Rehm parked right underneath the bridge for that pit stop sequence to get the fuel. Going to be close on that race. Still lots of battling in a 5-car pack. A lot of these drivers lost some time with that pit cycling. Could get interesting for the battle for the race lead, though, out of the race off pit road.
Here we go. Rehm already going, and he should have the lead here, surely. It's a tighter run through turn 2 as he makes sure he doesn't go too deep within it. It's a longer way round for Jasir, but what a much shorter pit stop that was from Justin Ream. He's not only jumped Beckham Jessir, he's 2.5 seconds in front.
That's incredible. But you know what's even more incredible? He took a 14-second stop. He went the quickest out of anybody in the field outside of Hugo Gallo. A big call on the fuel. That's going to be close for Justin Ream to save and for some of the others.
It is, but maybe with the example of Gallo you used there, maybe it is a characteristic of the McLaren that you can get away with those types of things a little bit more. Miles Brown's got through on Joaquin Nogueira, though, who wasn't willing to go down without a fight there at all. Looked up the inside towards turn 4. That wasn't going to come off for him. And Miles Brown is into 9th place. So this fight is now for 5th. Adam Brockway is back into 5th position, and what a drive it's been from him. Here's David Richards on the inside of Ryan Miles, who's gained places on this on these last few laps as well. He'll run up towards the corkscrew, Will Richards, right on the back of the Mercedes in front. Matthew Fortan's inside the top 10 as well. This order has changed quite a lot through this cycle of pit stops.
Just some of that difference on the undercut versus overcut call, some more so in terms of how much fuel you know your car can put in. It seems like the BMW's had to put in a lot more fuel compared to some of the others in terms of fill-up time, rather. But more so, there's Mercedes-AMG machines. A lot of drivers switched to that mid-season, remember, took the point deduction compared to what they were driving for. Some of the cases, especially, were some of the Aston Martin seen earlier. Those cars in particular were around that 16-second average to allow this jump. Some of them in the 15-second bracket. I think that's a part of the major difference. How low it stick is the question, because David Richards had a massive cushion before that pit cycle over Ryan Miles and company.
It's not only about pit stops, it's about pace, of course, as well. In-laps and out-laps have all contributed to this, of course. And now it's the fight for 6th place. Brockway looks like he's away and clear now. What a recovery from him. One of the drives of the day, if not the drive. So, Miles in front of Richards, then Fortan, Brown, Nogueira, all in this fight for 6th place. Although Nogueira's just made a bit of a mistake and will fall off the back ever so slightly. Richards is so strong out of turn 6, but has nowhere to go with it in towards the corkscrew and the final few corners, which is so difficult. Miles Brown, though, will be sizing up his rivals in towards the final corner. We know how good he is on the brakes there.
Yeah, and trouble behind them. Oh, Fortan spun run across the BMWs.
Well, that has split this group apart massively. Nogueira through on both of them. Brown loses out. So does Fortan especially. But what a shame that is. A fantastic battle we were looking forward to for the remaining 10 minutes of this race. It's all come unstuck. It was Brown looking down the inside of Fortan, and the two of them make contact. Fortan's not going to be pleased about that.
Not normally where you see side-by-side coming out of the corkscrew in that part. Usually some drivers wait to 10. But as I said, some of the drivers on the recovery drive showed their hand and saying, if you leave the door open, I'm going to shove my way through. That seemed to be the case there.
It did. Just because you do show that to others doesn't mean you can just do it and bulldoze them. So, unfortunately for Miles Brown, he might have to suffer a penalty for that. We'll wait and see after the fact, of course, but that's a shame to see a battle end in that way. Still, this one for 6th place will go on. David Richards is so strong out of turn 6, but there's nowhere to go with it, as we've said before. And the fact that he's in a Mercedes as well means that the strengths and weaknesses of this Mercedes sort of cancel each other out. And it's only set up. Well, it's not even set up, is it? Different between. It's literally just driver, and that's different between the two of them. Absolutely nothing that Richards can do other than just find a way through using his own willpower. Here he goes, looking at the inside of the final turn. Late on the brakes, although not as late as Ryan Miles, who will sweep around the outside and hold on.
We've seen this several times. Miles amongst those who knows how to charge the pack. He's your biggest mover, mind you, from qualifying position for a reason. He's done this several times in his PRL career, including in open wheel competition. Miles not easy to pass back either, because of that ability to just be able to charge ahead, then defend efficiently without significant time loss.
Well, I think they will inevitably lose time here to Joachim Nogueira. Whether he's going to get there in time for the end of the race or not sure, but the gap is not big. The two BMWs may well get together behind as well, but these are the battles that are for the highest positions in the field at the moment. None of the top 5 really battling. Beckham Jasir is close to now a second away, less than a second to Justin Rim. Walker Caton's getting closed in on by Hugo Gallo, but other than that, it is with these guys for 6th place at the moment. But still, Richards can't find a way through, and I'm not sure where he is going to find a way through now that he knows Ryan Miles is going to defend fiercely from him into the final turn.
It's happened around, this is 12th-ish. Keep in mind that's also in a similar circumstance. Van Roy, that Slippers racing machine, trying to find a way to get that smooth sailing and slippery feel into a spot. Trying to emphasize Slippers, it's not working well. But it's still going to be a very difficult pass around this track as more off track.
Well, they do seem to push the limits around there, don't they? They do push the boundaries. Here comes Richards, though. Surely there's a dive here. No. Miles will hold on again, and he is late on the brakes, which does make life difficult, but no attempts at all is a surprise. Side by side between Michael Terrafino and David Van Roy as the Team Beef driver makes his way around the outside. And after his spin earlier on, it's about recovery for him, although he's given himself a lot less time to do it than Adam Brockway did.
And actually, the metaphor or the comparison trying to make earlier seemed to work out with the slipping and sliding there in the Slippers car. But for the most part right now, getting to that final stage, keep in mind, Ryan Miles, David Richards also wants those scrapping hard. A brave move.
Side by side. Through turn 6, Ryan Miles ending up in the sand on the outside. David Richards for the place, and Terrafino's going to do the same. Contact with Rick Sacchini, who's going to find the wall, surely. Oh, he manages to keep it out, fair play. But Terrafino loses out, and Ryan Miles now is off at the corkscrew. It's all kicking off in the final 10 minutes.
What can you say after all that battling? You end up having this mistake, going through the corkscrew to lose the spot after another side-by-side. Miles in a very bad spot to cross the track. But now, oh man, he just hit a bump and it turned him around in a circle.
That's a rage quit if ever I've seen it, and I would too. Because that's very frustrating. Very frustrating indeed. Here's Joachim Nogueira trying to go close from Ryan. Oh, Miles Brown, excuse me, who goes down the inside. This is the replay of how these two have started the battle with Ryan Miles going around at the corkscrew completely on his own by the looks of it. But that was quite a battle for 7th place down into turn 1. Neither of them wanted to give it up, but Miles Brown doesn't back down. And down the inside he went, late on the brakes, into turn 2, and he is up to 7th place.
Still been an intriguing drive. Keep in mind, there was that contact earlier with some of these sins. He's made it clear. He's very, very confident in his driving ability to make passes. But in these final stages here, Caden finally reeled in by Gallo here. It's taken a long while, but it's closed up.
Has taken a very long time. But Hugo Gallo generally does this, sort of ghosts his way forward towards the front, towards the podium places. Managed to get a win a couple of weeks ago. Was second last week. Third the 2 weeks before that win. He's been on the podium 4 weeks in a row, looking to end off the entire second half of the season with podiums only. Not even Beckham Jasir can boast that level of consistency. Final 4 minutes remaining. Probably 3 laps to go, including this one, as Miles Brown comes into the pit lane for some reason. I don't know quite what that could be, but there's the mistake from Caton. Gallo's down the inside, and it will be side by side through turn 4 and towards 5, where Caton has the inside for 2 corners in a row.
Don't think this is going to be over. Still 2.5 laps to try and get the move done. Gallo, less fuel in the tank, lighter race car. Last time to close in 4/10 quicker, so Gallo is the quickest he is, and I believe it's going to be in the best interest here for Caden. Play the aggression D. Get yourself the top 3 without getting yourself turned around. Gallo seems to be setting him up, though, for a possible crossover.
Is he looking into the final 3 corners? It would be difficult, but stranger things have happened. Maybe it's the final turn. he's eyeing up at the moment. There are the race leaders. 2 laps to go in this season. Here at the finale at Laguna Seca. Into the final turn for Walker Caton and Hugo Gallo. It's a little bit wide from Caton. Not close enough for Gallo, who now knows he's only got 2 more laps to find a way through, and it is going to be tricky. I'm not saying the last lap will be his best opportunity, but I think his next chance may be his last chance.
Yeah, there's the crossover thought process right there. Went a little bit deeper on the brake, just wasn't close enough to be able to try and get the angle to then go out of the apex to try and make it side by side. I think for Gallo, going to take either a slip up or at least a lap to fully get an opportunity here to try and get the podium.
Walker Caton smacked that curb at turn 3 there, but it's absolutely fine. These cars can take it, especially over the course of a distance like this one. 40 minutes of racing again for the final time this season. And at the moment, Caton hanging on to this podium place. It's side by side between Miles Brown and Joshua Chinsky, by the way. Miles Brown hasn't been able to get through 412 place. The 222 driver has just been up and down all day after running 3rd earlier. Outside the top 10 for large portions, was back into it briefly recently. Not so much so this time around. Final lap then. The white flag already waving. Quite eager actually, but either way, less than a minute and a half remaining. And Justin Ream will take the white flag ahead of Beckham Justine. I think with a second, he might just have enough.
Incident point's still a potential factor though, because you mentioned that Miles Brown was back in the pack. He reached the incident limit for the drive-through. The other BMW we've kept an eye on, the Guerra, also in the same boat coming to the final lap. So a few of these drivers getting very close to the limit of having to serve a drive-through. And with the white flag waving, most of these drivers would lose about all their spots with a 40-second time penalty.
They certainly would. That is something to notice. There's the battle with Chinsky and Brown for 12th place. Chinsky knows what's coming as well, because these two fought earlier on, let's not forget. And once Brown got through, Chinsky was flashing the lights constantly, as if to show a little bit of displeasure with what took place there. So let's see what happens between them this time. Brown has been so aggressive and so late on the brakes so many times so far today. He's doing it again, this time on the outside at turn 2, possibly looking for the inside at the second part. He very much got into the rear of the McLaren there, and now he's on the outside towards turn 3. He won't be able to go round there. Maybe the cutback and for turn 4. No, not there either. Further up front though, it's Justin Ream in the final couple of corners to take another famous victory in the 912 McLaren. He beats Beckham Justine by a couple of seconds to round off his season in style, with the 3rd place battle being settled for Walker Caton. He will take 3rd ahead of Hugo Gallo, who will finish this season in 2nd in the championship. It's side by side with 12th though, and Joshua Chinsky ends the season in the wall at the hands of Miles Brown, who's been disqualified for incident points.
That was not smart. Miles Brown had to know that any bit of contact was going to disqualify on the final lap, and he still does that. Wow.
Well, not fantastic for Miles Brown, but great amounts of drama on this last lap of the season. Chinsky finds himself in the wall. Guerra tries to serve a drive-through on the last lap. Surely that won't count, will it?
Might. I actually don't know. We'll have to see how the... Here's the thing. The end of the pit exit is after the start and finish line. I'm not sure that's going to count.
No, I don't think it will. I reckon he could end up finishing the last of those on the lead lap here, or at least very close to it. Joshua Chinsky only actually lost 2 places in that crash as well, by the way. Jeff Fleischman gets 12th. Roy Brown gets 13th. Although maybe, because he might have a penalty as well, don't know. But Chinsky goes to the line. What a bizarre ending to our season here in the GT4 series. Drive-throughs that may or may not count. Disqualifications on the last lap. Great battles. But in the end, a Justin Ream victory. Laguna Seca often gets bad-mouthed, and sometimes by me, for not having good racing opportunities. But that race was plenty of overtaking, plenty of chances for all the drivers, especially those coming through from the back.
Yeah, a lot of craziness today. Believe Nogueira did not have his plan work out, by the way. But, man, what a race.
And what a shame for him. Justin Ray wins the race, though, ahead of Beckham just here. Then it's Walker Caton who held off Hugo Gallo. Adam Brockway was the second in the Mercedes and did fantastically well to get back into the top 5. David Richards, 6th, ahead of Matthew Fortin. The first of the Porsches, Robert Widgway in 8th. David Van Roy inside the top 10 with Michael Terrafino, another one of those recovering drivers inside the top 10. Jeff Fleischman in 11th, ahead of Roy Brown, first of the Aston Martins. Joshua Chensky and Nokim Noguera were the final of the lead lap drivers. Miles Brown, Jordan Ricciarini, Glenn Vanko and Brian Hoskins 1 lap down. Jack Stevenson didn't quite get to the line. He did actually. He got a long stop though. Ryan Miles retired pretty late on in 20th. In 21st, Vincent Generou, who will score points. Max Silnueve won't, and neither will Nicolas Rasputo, who seems to just pull off there on that race. Well, that is it for your GT4 series here this season. Let's have a chat to finale race winner, Justin Ray. Justin, welcome to the move. Good to have you here. A race winner on the final round. I know you must have been disappointed after last week and so on and what's gone on there. However, a good way for you to end off the season here, beating Beckham just here. A lot of it happened during the pit stop phase. Just tell us a little bit about how you managed to get such a short pit stop in that one.
I'm not too sure how I got a short pit stop. I got an extra lap of fuel, I guess, but I wasn't really doing any fuel saving. I didn't really have anything to fight for, so I figured it's the last race, so I might as well just, push the whole way. But I think just being behind him was enough to get the extra lap of fuel. And yeah, I gained, I think it was like 2 or 3 seconds or something in the pits, so.
It was eventually the race-winning margin that you got as well. You move up to fourth place in the championship standings as well. Tell us how you reflect on this season now overall, knowing what's gone on throughout the season. Of course, you weren't at the first round. You never had the safety net of a drop round, really, because of that. How do you reflect on this season?
I had a lot of fun, to be honest. That's why I keep coming back. I missed Nürburgring because I had to end up working late. And then, yeah, there was a couple of mistakes like last week during the pit stop and crossing the pit entry line, which gave me a penalty. But these things happen, and just basically got to learn from them and improve.
Absolutely. Justin, congratulations on the win tonight, and thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thanks very much. Justin Rome there, victorious in the race tonight, ahead of Beckham Jasir, who couldn't quite get there in the end. Beckham, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. Champion at the end of this race. We knew that it was mathematically possible for you to lose it tonight, but not likely if you're looking at it realistically. Tell us how you feel now that you've certainly secured this title for sure.
It feels really awesome, first PRL championship that I've won. I want to thank obviously all of you guys and all the other drivers and my team Fiercely Forward. They've done an awesome job just helping me through the way.
How has it been since joining them, by the way? Because we noted that you didn't start at that team at the start of this championship, but you changed halfway through, which is quite rare. So how did you find that sort of dynamic throughout the season?
Making the change is honestly just a choice of myself. I felt it was just the need to make a change, and obviously it's worked amazingly for me. They've just helped me in almost everything that I've done here on iRacing.
Certainly, and it's great to see. Beckham, congratulations on the championship, and thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Beckham Jasir, the champion here this season in the PRL GT4 series. And Walker Caton also joins us from the podium positions. That's quite a slow-mo we've got on our screens right now. But Walker, congratulations on third place on your final race. Tell us a little bit about those final laps as you had Hugo Gallo hounding you at the very end.
Well, first, thanks. But yeah, he was flying. I thought he was going to get me. And I was literally just holding on for sweet life.
I mean, third place in the championship as well. He didn't get enough points to overtake Gallo in the standings at least. But how do you reflect on the season as a whole?
It was good. I felt like I progressed a little bit, but I found some of the races a little hit or miss, keeping up with Beckham and Justin. So I'd like next time to find that little extra bit and at least be able to keep up with them at a race like this. But it was good.
And 6 podiums is nothing bad at all throughout the season. Walker, congratulations on the 6th of those, and thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Walker Caton there, 3rd place here today at Laguna Seca. Well, that just about does it for us here on RaceSpotTV. Justin, I have to say, I've really enjoyed that final race of the season for the GT4s. The first championship finale night we've had here this week on RaceSpotTV. Plenty more coming up.
Yeah, an exciting championship battle closing out here tonight. Some exciting racing in turn. Justin Ream with the speed all night long to hold on. But still plenty more championships to close out for the campaign for the PRL for this iRacing season. Very intrigued on how a lot of these championships close out throughout the next week.
I am too. That draws to a close, though, the Production Car Challenge and GT4 Series here for Season 2 of 2023 as we begin Championship Week here in the Precision Racing League on RaceSpotTV. Make sure you stick around and join us tomorrow for the 2 GT3 Championships to be decided. But for now, we're signing off here from Laguna Seca. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Justin Prince, and Justin Ollis has been behind the cameras. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.